Hi, it's Ileana. Today we're going to discuss the connections between Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, the secret space programs, and the aerospace private company industries, and the connections between UFOs as well. Are there secret programs and connections between Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, UFOs, and the aerospace companies? Connections between what Billy Carson and Johnny Enoch have recently disclosed about space programs, classified ultra-secret programs, and Lockheed Martin Skunk Works correlates to my own research about these subjects and links back to my 2016 testimony about being an SSB asset with knowledge of working on Mars bases. So Billy Carson recently did a show discussing the probes which had been shot down over Alaska, Yukon, Michigan. Those three objects, Lake Huron, Michigan area. And again, he started off discussing that, and those are not UFOs. What the F-22 fighter jets shot down, those are actual surveillance probes looking for specific things with satellite transmission going back to outer space satellites, transmitting data back. Alaska actually has 4 secret underground bases that surveillance probe was trying to locate with penetration satellite systems, both covering the ground, the water, and underground, looking for very specific secret underground bases, 4 of them. That's what was happening with Alaska and near Canada area as well, Western Canada. This was happening on the border of Alaska, Yukon, Western Canada. And NORAD shot down that advanced surveillance probe that is made here on Earth. It's man-made. And again, there's connections to deep state. There's connections to the secret Black Ops military operations going on. It's interconnected with these surveillance probes. These are newer style probes, more advanced than even drones. It's silent. Nobody could figure out what the propulsion system was. It was floating like 40,000 feet in the air. So that is connected to the idea of disclosing UFOs, extraterrestrials. And I think more of these probe style things will be seen in the future, and more tic-tacs, gimbals, triangles, pyramid-shaped UFOs. It's all under UFO classification or UAP, but it's nothing out of the strangeness in the realm. This is normal. People are going to be seeing more sightings of that. So what Billy Carson was covering is talking about the surveillance probes, and he straight out said, it's surveillance probes. It's not drones. It's not spy balloons. It's surveillance probes. And I had remote viewed that particular advanced surveillance probe that was shot down over Alaska. And it has a electromagnetic propulsion system. Electromagnetic, that's how UFOs fly. It's all connected to electromagnetic anti-gravitics. Or an electrical system, subsonic. These probes have subsonic systems. Electrical, electromagnetic. They're quiet. It doesn't seem like it has a propulsion system, but it's surveilling things. It's for specific surveillance. with a hyper focus on Alaska. It's not the first time things have happened in Alaska, with different types of crafts flying over it, looking for things on the ocean and in the air. So Alaska is very, very important because there's underground facilities, secret military and other facilities under Alaska. It's not just HARP in Alaska, which was decommissioned in 2015-16. So it's no longer a military installation. It is a university-based study of weather and weather modification and stuff like that. So, but that's more than HARP now, much more. There's 4 underground top secret bases under Alaska. That's what was under surveillance with that more advanced probe that the secret black ops people have had for a long time. And now they're releasing them to do this surveillance type stuff. That's what it is. And I'm going to talk about further connections now. What Billy Carson and Johnny Enoch recently revealed. I think that what Billy Carson presented about Lockheed Martin Skunk Works having developed space technologies that are 300 years more advanced than what we currently have is true, because I have been researching Lockheed Martin and Ben Rich for the last 4 months, as well as this new remote viewing data showing that there are active connections between what Billy disclosed and my own remote viewing work on Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, with their anti-gravity propulsion experiments that were conducted between 1974 and 1978, where they had these 3 large disk drive plates hovering one on top of the other, 1, 2, 3, and they had these electromagnetic buffer systems in the middle of it, holding the electromagnetic gravidity between the 3 disk drives. They were metallic plates. And underneath these floating disk drives, large ones, there was a electromagnetic array system that was balancing all those energies and frequencies and the torsion fields of the disks. So it was a huge, and this was done in a huge room. So these anti-gravity experiments were big. It was on a big scale. That was done in 1974, 1978. It was a power station / energy frequency array system. That's what was charging the 3 disk plates, the 3 drive disk plates, with the buffer systems in the middle. Torsion field, electromagnetic fields. This is how anti-gravity technology works. The UFOs, the UAPs, whether ours or extraterrestrial, not of terrestrial origin. Either they're reverse engineered UAPs, UFOs that can fly above planetary orbits, in planetary system, and underwater. Underwater, they have gliding modes, so they can travel underwater. And then there was the shuttle bus craft manufactured by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in 2000, the year 2000, with the shielding and cloaking technologies through the warp bubble fields and the buffer systems around the craft and internally that nullified the radiation outside and inside the craft, as well as nullifying the extreme G-force energetics so the occupants of the crafts stay alive and in one piece, not being pulverized by the kinetic energies, since these crafts travel at fast speeds, along with making quick maneuvers, zigzagging left, right, hovering up, down, very quick maneuvers, which normal planes cannot do. And again, there was this buffer system inside that shuttle bus craft that was collecting the radiation energy and the extreme G-force energetics inside the craft and outside in the warp bubble fields. So that is what allows what looks like these Tic Tacs and gimbals to travel so fast. And these could be remote controlled crafts, or they could be like shuttle crafts carrying supplies or people. They look smaller on the outside but are bigger inside because that warp bubble field masks the true shape and size of the craft. They are metallic crafts, yes, different exotic metal alloys, but it's no longer nuts and bolts. There's no seams or wings on that shuttle bus craft that Lockheed Martin created in 2000. And it has nacelle drives with electromagnetic technology. That's what I saw in the remote viewing. I made drawings and write-ups of it, and that stuff I am including for a special project that I'm working on, but I'm mentioning it here because it is so interconnected with what Billy Carson recently said that Lockheed Martin has produced. Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin has produced exotic craft technologies and other anti-gravitics 3,000 years more advanced than what we currently have in the public aerospace system. The current planes, the current jets, all that stuff. It's not using anti-gravity propulsion, it's using fossil fuels. And that's not what these UAPs and UFOs use, not at all. Not the man-made ones here, not the extraterrestrial ones. They all use electromagnetic fields with anti-gravity propulsion systems, different types, warp drives, FTL drives, nacelle technology, electromagnetics. Some of the more advanced crafts use crystalline systems in the propulsion. It really depends whose technology it is and what they're using. So that is these connections. And again, all these different UAPs, UFOs can do quick maneuvers, side to side, left to right, top to bottom. They can go up in altitude, up and down very quickly, much quicker than the fighter jets, like the F-22s, much faster than the planes. They're beyond standard technology that's in the public aerospace industry, or what NASA will even admit to. Even NASA has the X-33B shuttlecraft that is no longer using fossil fuels and anti-gravitics, because it can just on the runway, it can just lift off and go with payloads, or it could be launched with larger payloads and be gone for almost 2 years, delivering stuff back and forth to space bases out on the moon and Mars. That's not part of the standard shuttle space program. It's not part of the standard one. In the beginning, when discussing my SSP asset experiences in 2016, I had said that the space programs had developed technologies that are 300 years more advanced than what we currently have available in the public sectors on Earth. This included the nanotechnology Neuralink implants that were implanted in my brain by the Nordics on one of the planetary corporation's bases on Mars. So the infrastructure is there. It goes back to Wernher von Braun, 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They built out underground lunar bases. Then they built bases on the surface of the moon in craters with electromagnetic dome field technology protecting the bases and the holographic technology shielding those domed bases from being discovered by telescopes, radar, and satellites. Then they went to the moon. They went to the moon and then Mars with nuclear fusion crafts before the anti-gravitics. That's how they got to the moon. That's nuclear fusion. They used nuclear fusion rockets and craft to deliver supplies to the moon to build the first underground lunar base with different connectors and modules. It's the standard modules, circular or square modules connected together by tubing or tunnel systems. And then they have the biodomes to grow hydroponics, aquaponics food. They don't need soil to grow food anymore on the moon and Mars because it's not self-sustainable. And then on Mars, they built in the 1970s different bases with the domes shielding the bases, similar as on the moon, except more of them for the secret programs. I know of planetary corporations. I know of that because that's what I was involved in. But it all connects to Wernher von Braun and the schematics that he had created for artificial gravity, circular space stations, lunar underground bases, domed bases on Mars. That was all in the Mars Project plans, Collier magazine, 1950s. Project Horizon. That's plans for these infrastructures that I think went through and were developed, despite us being told that they weren't. I think it was all developed to these infrastructures. But there's also secret programs on Earth in private aerospace companies creating reverse engineered crafts from extraterrestrial technologies that crashed here, from crash site retrievals. Roswell, New Mexico, 3 crafts had crashed in 1947, 3 crash sites with beings that were 5 foot something, gray type with webbed hands and reptilian skin. So bodies had been recovered. Goes back to 1947, goes back to 1930s with the Germans. Project Paperclip, 1945 and onwards, NASA, all interconnected. Wernher von Braun had showed Uri Geller parts of a UFO craft that was in cold storage at one of the NASA facilities. That's something a statement Uri Geller had made in an article about 1.5 years ago. All of this stuff is so interconnected. As well, there is what Johnny Enoch discussed about Project Mannequin recruiting super soldiers to work in classified programs with advanced abilities is also true. My original testimony included that I had worked on the Mars basis for planetary corporations through the Quantum Leap time travel program, doing a 60 and back as an SSP asset. Johnny Enoch described how Project Mannequin had the super soldiers doing advanced forms of remote viewing projects and time travel missions to Mars. The nanotechnology Neuralink implants that I had in my brain when I was on Mars and also when I had been returned to Earth with the brain wiping of my memories had amplified my psychic abilities, remote viewing skills to find active targets anywhere, on planet and off planet, precognition abilities to see the future events before they even happen. I see future events happening. And even though I had my mind wiped with the mind-wiping technologies from the holographic medical pods and the memory Ingram stations, because they have memory Ingram stations specifically for mind wiping, or they can use the holographic medical pods to alter certain memory Ingram imprints in your brain for your memory, to change the sequence of events of memories, to erase memory, to implant false fake memories. They could do different sequences of events. For me, it was just mind wiping on a conscious level, these memories, but they came back and I still remembered this stuff. And my abilities to download almost infinite amounts of data with downloads and uploads. So I have the ability to sift through large amounts of data with implants or without, and to sort this data out, to categorize it, to put it in its proper place where it belongs, whether it's UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrial contacts, encounters, abductions, secret programs, secret exotic technologies and crafts. I can process that info quickly, organize it, and link together how everything connects. I have those abilities. Again, abilities to download almost infinite amounts of data with downloads and uploads, to sort it out and put the puzzle pieces together. It is true that the Neuralink implants allowed me to do these things much faster, but I still have those abilities despite the removal of the implants from my brain. I have the natural ability to tap into various energetic frequencies of living matter and everything in creation, with organic remote viewing skills to bring back real-time information, data, telemetry, impressions, and universal knowledge from live-action targets that I see clearly as I am connected to everything in existence on a soul level. My consciousness exists outside any linear space or time, so I am everywhere at once, being able to clearly tap into anything that I need to bring back clear knowledge, remembering what information I retrieved. These types of abilities is why I was recruited into the planetary corporations, working on the 11 Mars bases, and like I mentioned, despite not having the implants anymore, I can still do all the things I just listed in real time and very quickly, because my brain is still trained to mimic everything that the Neuralink implants enhanced in my natural abilities. Now, I was taken into the planetary corporations programs when I was 17, 18, so I wasn't taken in as a child. I had no part in my labs at all. I did 2 years on the moon, lunar space operations, and then was transferred to Mars. So that was when I was 17, 18, then my 20s, more of the Mars stuff. And what they do on lunar space operations is they prep you to what it will be like for you to live in space, to get acclimatized, accustomed, and you learn about different types of extraterrestrials, the technologies, the languages, the histories, the cultures of the beings, the planets, the solar systems, galaxies. You learn that there's more than one universe, that we are in a universe this is the 1.5 universe. So you learn a lot about esoterics, you learn a lot about quantum mechanics, you learn a lot about energy frequency. Your abilities are upgraded, you get different kinds of implants perhaps, different kinds of augments, physical, energetic, smart suits, either on the moon or Mars, because both have space programs. Several years ago, I had developed an online internet search algorithm to search for specific names and keywords or phrases like secret programs, secret space programs, super soldiers, Mars, moon bases, Neuralink, Lockheed, Martin, Skunk Works, anti-gravity propulsion systems, extraterrestrial, aliens, UFOs, UAPs, ancient civilizations, and much more. So yes, I was trained to have abilities to track things and connect information together, almost like being a little spy or a spider on the wall, archiving, collecting information, sorting it out, putting it all together. So I developed this internet search algorithm that I can plunk into an internet browser, and it will search for specific keywords or phrases connected to any of these things and people's names who disclose this stuff anywhere on the internet. And once it pops in the data, I get the report back and I start connecting the dots even further with my own research and experiences, and plugging in the information and giving credit to the people who disclosed this. Like in this instance, it was Billy Carson that popped up and Johnny Enoch. That's why I'm acknowledging them. Recently, Billy Carson and Johnny Enoch appeared in the search criteria results of my algorithm, with Billy discussing the secret programs, space bases, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, and technologies being manufactured that are 300 years more advanced than what we have now. Following that, Johnny Enoch's name appeared, featuring information about the secret space programs, Mars, time travel, and the secret remote viewing projects connected to Base 499, which had the ultra top secret program, the Mannequin program, training super soldiers to augment their abilities, time travel projects, Mars missions, stuff like that. My search algorithm looks for any correlating evidence that matches up or corroborates anything of importance with my own original 2016 testimony, which I think what Billy Carson and Johnny Enoch just revealed does add up to what I discussed in my testimony. As a researcher, I look for the real truth and go by what matches up as facts that follow a logical sequence of events in real time. I was an archivist, I was a library technician, I worked in universities, colleges, libraries for 12 years. So I archive data and information, I sort it out, I put the puzzle pieces together concerning these topics, and then I report back on what I find. The online internet search algorithm will cross-reference anything important in what I am looking for in regards to my own research and bringing back the data sets that I need to add the puzzle pieces of the research, building the bigger picture of what exists outside the normal matrix of reality and the 3D world. I look for real-time information in the real world to connect research together about secret programs, Moon, Mars, bases, SSP, and other things, extraterrestrials, UAPs, UFOs, all that stuff is interconnected to disclosure and much more. And Lockheed Martin Skunk Works is a big part of that disclosure in the private aerospace industries, working with Black Ops secret military to make the man-made UAPs, UFOs that look similar to what the ATs are already using. It may look similar. It's no longer nuts and bolts. We might not even be able to tell the difference. There are older style technologies like the TR-3Bs that sort of have the nuts and bolts a little bit, but there's the TR-10 models now out which don't have those nuts and bolts. They sort of have a wingspan, but they're more aerodynamic now. Some of this stuff can go, some of these crafts can go beyond the speed of light with the electromagnetic propulsion systems. And this is what some of the Mars bases look like, with the electromagnetic dome fields protecting them, biodomes for growing food, in hydroponics, aquaponics projects, not needing soil. Although there is soil on Mars, it's very rich. So there's even some experiments with nature preserves and building arboreal forests where things grow much larger than it does on Earth, like the huge mushrooms and the tall trees and the grass. They're doing experiments with nature preserves to add more oxygen and to start leveling out the radiation from Mars to eventually colonize Mars even more. That's just a small part of terraforming, very small part that they're doing, which I saw in all the irrigation and the waters underground, the underground systems that come in through aquifers and other. It's not a piping system that you see on the surface. It's all underground to how the water is delivered to these nature preserves. It's all underground. You're not going to see huge tubes or pipes on the surface. It's all underground. And it's not even like what the pipes we use here. It's different systems connected through tunnels, how the water is delivered. But it is not through your normal pipes. That's not how water is delivered underground. Think aquaponics, hydroponics systems. The tubing is very different for that. And this is another type of a Mars base modular system with the biodomes on top. These are very typical and standard with Mars rovers to get around. Everything is covered because there's sandstorms. It could be extremely cold or hot on Mars depending which pole you're on. It's the red planet, that's true. Right now you still need to wear the smart suits to breathe outside because the air is thinner in some parts than others on the planet. You have your biodomes, you have the interconnecting, interlocking module systems. Some of them are circular, some of them are more square looking ones. Then you have your launch pads to launch the shuttlecraft going up and down from the planet. All that stuff, that infrastructure is there on Mars. It is completely there. It's been done. It's been there since 1970s, from what I know, 1970s. And on the moon from 1950s underground bases, then topside on the moon and on Mars. With a lot of it is covered by the electromagnetic dome systems and in craters. And that's gotten even more advanced, and there's a few space stations up there as well with artificial anti-gravity already. It's quite comfortable in them. You're not floating around. It's like being at a space hotel, basically. It is not what the ISS is. It's much more advanced than that. So I wanted to discuss that information today. And again, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works is very much connected to the space programs. NASA is also connected to the space programs with their secret shuttles that don't use propellants or rocket fuel. Everything is going anti-gravity, electromagnetics. That's the future we're going into. So I wanted to discuss that today. Thank you so much.